we can't be free unless we don't have fear. When something's beyond your control, just being able to sit in the space of, okay, well, if it's in our stars that we're supposed to come out here and cook to death, it sounds macabre and dark, but okay, if that's what it is, then we just have to go with that, and we have to be free and present in that. Welcome to Inspiral Out Loud, where we are exploring ways to create a thriving future for all sentience. So I'm here with Ala Nur, the founder of Neurology today. We're starting a weekly chat. We've been meaning to start a weekly chat for ages about life, the universe and everything, and we're finally here. So lovely to see you. How are you today?
Nice to see you, TJ. I'm fine. Hello to everyone.
So we're just going to start discussing little topics, experiences, latest bits of news that feel like they have creating an opportunity for some form of growth and expansion in our various worlds. And I'm going to start with something that felt not quite so expansive when we were going through it. So this is our little family trip to Dahab recently. So I know that many people have had an influx of ups and downs. And so we kind of experienced a few, what shall we call, anomalies during our recent trip. So it's basically, we're seeing the fails of so many of the systems, right? So we had the ultimate system fail with many areas of administration, flights, banking, all of those things consistently falling down. But it all culminated in our return trip from Dahab to Luxor being actually probably one of the most challenging experiences of our lives so far. Mm-hmm. So to put it into context, myself, my mother and my brother have all been here in Egypt for 2 years. After escaping Alcatraz, aka Australia, after many months living on the road trying to find community. So we've kind of been doing a curious road for a while. Anyway, we had a return trip from Dahab a few days ago. So we turned up to Sharm el Sheikh Airport, which is about an hour and a half from Dahab, and that's how you get to Cairo and to Luxor. So we arrived actually 3 hours early because they had lost our luggage on the way. Mm-hmm. Yay, we did a holiday without our stuff. I had to buy clothes. So we got to the airport 3 hours early to get our luggage for a start, and waited for our 12:45 flight. Then we were told at 12:45 that our flight had been cancelled and that we had to wait till 5 o'clock for our flight. So we waited till 5 o'clock for our flight. And then at 5 o'clock we were told that our flight had been cancelled and we had to wait till 7 o'clock. Aww. And then we were told that our 7 o'clock flight had been cancelled and we had to wait till 9 o'clock. Now, keep in mind, the airport has been filling up with people from all of those flights, and none of those flights were going. So we had a whole airport full of the angriest people I have ever seen live. We had no food. They brought us some sandwiches that were really gross. We couldn't eat them. The only cafe was like one airport cafe, where they charge you $10 for a Nescafe coffee. Oh. And they had, a bit of sugar, a bit of flour, like that was it. There was just nothing to eat. All of our clothes were in our luggage. The airport was freezing. We couldn't access our luggage. The only way we could get our luggage was to cancel our flight, which meant we wouldn't have got a refund. So we were just kind of stuck there, freezing cold, exhausted.
Hungry.
Pardon?
Hungry.
Hungry. And meanwhile, our flight from Cairo to Luxor left at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So we didn't even know what we were going to do once we got to Cairo. So everything was just like winning. It was fabulous. And there was some elderly people there just completely losing it. And there was women with children, and the children were just screaming and screaming for 10 hours straight. So it was pretty chaotic, right? So 20 past 10, we get on our flight that was due at 12:45, and we get to Cairo. And there's no flights to Luxor for days. Days and days.
Really?
We were like, what do we do? So we were just stuck there. Everybody else had gone. We were the only people left in the airport. And this is now around midnight. We waited until about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning for he was the supervisor of the airport itself, or he was the supervisor of Air Cairo. We weren't quite sure of which. Anyway, he came in at about 3 o'clock in the morning to tend to us. So at this point, we've been awake for nearly 24 hours. He said the only thing that we could do is to get a flight to Hurghada, and then they were going to book a driver for us to take us back to Luxor.
What an adventure.
So 6 o'clock in the morning, we get on a flight to Hurghada. We get there at 7:30, get our luggage, and there's no driver. And the airport's cleared out, everybody's off on holiday. We're stuck at the airport. We have to wait an hour and a half then for Air Cairo's office to open. None of the airport staff would help us. They wouldn't get us anything to drink. We couldn't leave the airport to buy anything. We didn't have any water. We had nothing. Nothing. And now we've been up for over 24 hours. Everybody's just losing it. Finally...
And your mom her age is?
She's 76.
76?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
She was losing it. My brother was losing it. Everybody was losing it. Nobody would help us. We said we have to see someone from Air Cairo. They said, there's nobody that works here from Air Cairo. Nobody wanted to help us at all. We were like, well, how do we get to Luxor? And they said, well, there's no taxis. You can't get a taxi. They don't have a proper license. They have to get a bus. Well, the bus left at 1:30.
At noon.
Afternoon, another 4 hours. We were like, we can't wait. So finally, I ended up calling our driver friend from here in Luxor, because he spends a lot of time in Hurghada, and said, do you know any drivers that can get us home? And he called a friend, and then his friend called another friend, and finally he was able to send us somebody. So this guy rocks up in his car. Now it's about 10:30, 11 o'clock. And this was last Friday. Last Friday, I believe, was a 48-degree day. How many kilometres of desert is there from Hurghada to Luxor? Is it about 250 kilometres?
At least, yes, around 250 kilometers of desert, yeah.
So, we take off now. We've all been up for nearly 30 hours. And we get into the taxi, and then we start taking off, and then we're just surrounded by nothing but desert. And hardly any cars, because nobody's insane enough to drive around at that time, right? And then I was like, ooh, this was a really bad idea.
Really? To drive by car from the airport to Luxor?
Yes. I was just, and so I don't pray very often. I'm not religious, but I was praying. just get us home safely, please. And I wasn't going to start talking about my little internal adventures about looking for, like, what do we do if we break down and we're stuck out here in 48-degree heat with no shade and nothing, no traffic except for trucks and the occasional bus, which is all full. Then Mum starts having a heat-informed just panic attack and just starts freaking out. I'm just covering her with water and trying to fan her with a book the poor guy who was driving was stressed out because his air conditioner was like making the car lag too much, so we couldn't even drive properly. It was just wild. And I've been through some pretty hairy situations, but this was the first time ever that I just went, okay, this is the reckoning now. Like, it really felt like, okay, this is like the ultimate test, because most of my hairy situations, it's just been me that's in danger, not my whole family. But I actually really felt in danger to the point that I had to choose my timelines then. Yeah. And so when she was freaking out, we were just like, okay, it's fine, don't panic, everything's okay. And we just went in and stopped in a few little roadhouses on the way, just trying to get her cool. And we got back. We're still here. We got back, but wow, it was just such a phenomenal experience. I really felt like the powers that be just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed us to our absolute limit, just to breathe in somehow to something a bit bigger than what we were. And when we were talking about it the next day, one of the things that came up for me, because we've all kind of felt some sense of like attack over, especially over the last couple of years since we've been here, right? And we just keep going through it. And I don't know if it's physical, metaphysical, I haven't tuned into it enough. I'm just aware that it's out there somewhere. But it just felt like such an onslaught. And afterwards I just said to Mum, wow, like we were really pushed to the edge of everything, but we stayed cool with each other as a trio, as a family unit. And I felt like that was the most important bit of that whole experience.
So you maintained harmony between us.
Yeah.
Between you. You
Yeah.
did not get into fights or accusations or...
In fact, it was the opposite. It was the opposite.
You were encouraging each other to stay
just supporting
positive?
each other. Yeah, absolutely. A little bit ratty at times. I mean, it was 48 degrees and we were tired and hungry. But it was just... it was quite a profound experience in the end, actually. So I just felt that was important to share, because I feel like so many people are coming up in my personal world or online just talking about the intensity of just being pushed so much to extremes at the moment. Yeah.
Yes. Well... in interpretation of the enlightenment process that is going on Earth right now and the general ascension process, we make the most intense development outside of our comfort zone, yes? So we have to be pushed there and we have to be shaken in our foundations. And also what is most interesting to me is that you said that at one point you surrendered to the divine to save you, yes, to get you back home. And well, that is what happened. Yeah. And I very much feel that many things are happening to humanity right now to get to that point. Because when we leave Earth, we have to have a certain foundation, and our light bodies have to be developed to a point to be able to carry us to, well, the next dimensions from where we evolve then. And so at the end, all that we are relying upon in the outer conditions are fading away right now. And experiences like that show us clearly you cannot rely on flight times, not even on reliable food or water, yes, or anything on the outer conditions, except of your inner conditions, actually, where you have to, well, stay calm, maintain harmony, and stay connected or get connected to divine source. That is mainly what will guide us and help us all along the way. But normally, particularly the human, I feel, of this age is called upon to surrender and find the fine line between surrendering and reality creation. So, where is the point where surrender starts, and where is the point where the own responsibility gets in controlling your inner status, your relation with your family and the ones surrounding you. And that's a very great challenge. I think it's a really, really good sign that you maintained harmony. I'm not sure if I would have been able, with the two girls, to maintain that stability, because you easily get into accusation or, spilling your status over to the other and finding someone you can hold responsible for what is going on. And I think one of the really important lessons here is to stay peaceful and harmonious within yourself. And if you really were able to do that, that's a great, great reward to observe yourself, to be able to maintain that status. And if everyone would be able to do that, we would be living in a much more peaceful world.
I think we kind of surprised ourselves actually, but it just felt like there was such a monumental influx of energy coming at us from outside that we just had to bond together, that we just had to. But the other thing for me, being in that circumstance and being in that surrender is we can't be free unless we don't have fear. And I mean, well, there is a safety element to that. If something comes out in front of you and is about to hit you, well, yeah, you need a bit of fear to get you out of the way. But when something's beyond your control, just being able to sit in the space of, okay, well, if it's in our stars that we're supposed to come out here and cook to death, it sounds macabre and dark, but okay, if that's what it is, then we just have to go with that, and we have to be free and present in that. Because all of the fear and the blame in the world isn't going to make it any different.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that's what the ultimate freedom is just to maintain that center, even if it's like, okay, it's time to go now. Okay, it's time to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean you just go, let's just go and wander out in the sun and let's see how long it takes to cook. But it's just to surrender when there is no other choice.
Yes, and acceptance. I think what you're talking about is really boils down to acceptance also. Accept the situation as it is in that moment, in order also even not to lose any power and inner sovereignty.
Yeah.
To maintain like the status of, well, inner creativity also, to be creative in that situation in terms of like not reacting to it, staying in a creative mode still, which means keeping the harmony up and giving good things into the situation, blessings, prayers. That's what you did. Yes. So
and also taking responsibility.
Instead of getting into a reactive mode.
Yeah, like we were like, okay, this was a stupid thing to do. We made a stupid decision. We hadn't had any sleep. We couldn't find another way through. Now we're in the middle of the desert, and this guy's car is like bumping around. I don't even know if it's going to get up the next hill. Okay, we made a stupid decision, but we're here now. We can't actually go back. We just need to deal with the moment and just being in the moment by moment by moment, and not projecting out of that, I think was just such strong medicine.
And what was your the lesson what you said that taught you most, this situation that you would translate into the development on Earth right now for yourself and your family?
We all feel in hindsight that it is that pushing out of the comfort zone to such an extreme state where you have to just surrender and stay balanced. And I feel like this is just one of the more extreme, but one of many situations and circumstances where we're really just being trained to maintain our center. And, coming into a different conversation then that I won't branch into just now, but I feel like in the coming months and years, we will just be challenged more and more by seeing what's around us crumbling and everything that we thought was safety, that we thought was a foundation, I feel like that will be dispersing somehow, and we still need to stay present in that. Yet, so it just feels like it's the training in strength.
Training in strength, and also gaining clarity and stability, what you really can rely on, you know. What is there still in this situation? What kind of, bliss and energy is still there? And, it always comes down to the divine, for me, to getting closer to the divine, where we normally in the day-to-day lives not necessarily rely upon in our actions. Yeah, we may say that. I mean, from my perspective, as a Muslim, we do pray 5 times a day, but are you really, is the divine your derivation point? Do you know your essence truly, your really true essence? Or do you have to be pushed to align with that, So that's, I think, is a very important factor, because when we excarnate from this planet, what is left, what are you taking with you, It is a connection to your soul, it is a connection to divine, and you will actually be in the state of the dimension where you left. You will take this energy with you, and it is stored in your light body. So this is something we really have to consider when looking at the events in the material world. We are incarnated now, but we will excarnate at some point. So what is the energy we want to be in at this point of excarnation? And what do we want to be connected to at this point? And what did we do to nurture this relation while we had the possibility on earth then, while we had all the means to control also our energies, incoming and outcoming, yes? Our mind as a present for us, our soul connection, our body actually, our brain, to be able to perceive and to distinguish all these things and to build energy up. Yes.
And the other thing that, the other point that I think came up is it was very humbling to be out there. I didn't realize how many people are actually living out in the desert in little boxes with no power, like no air conditioning. Like I just saw women in the shade of their little huts in 48 degrees. There was a man with his donkey and cart in 48 degrees in the middle of nowhere. It's like, wow. They're so tough, they're so strong. And it's humbling for us to be at the mercy of the elements, at the mercy of not having access to anything to eat. It's something that I wouldn't wish upon anybody, but unfortunately there's a huge amount of people in the world that are subject to that all the time. And so I feel like it kind of made us just have a bit more, I want to say, not respect, it's not that word, a bit more maybe humility and humbleness. Humbleness is it. Just realising just how many people have got it so tough, and that when we don't have our props around us, actually we're very vulnerable. Like, we just are.
Yeah, as
We've just
humans.
got these little human mortal bodies, and they're not actually that tough without our technologies.
Yes. Well, in these moments you recognize how fragile life can be and is actually, and that everything else that we pretend that gives us security is actually illusionary.
Yes, the only thing that does give us our security is our connection to our non-physical self.
Exactly.
And so that's where I just feel the training is just so strong.
And has to be because we do not want to leave Earth in a state of attachment and many dependencies,
That's right.
So we have to be in our spiritual evolution, we have to come at a point where we are detached actually. And that's why I feel that those people that you're talking about with the huts in the desert and really having little up to no possessions are the least humble and also most connected ones. I feel the more things one have, the more attached he is to this matter, and the less connected to divine, because the connection spaces are already filled up with material things. And it is a process to get detached from that, because we will not be taking anything with us. So I generally feel also on our world travels all over the world since 2015 that we did, the less stuff people had, the more connected they were to themselves and to divine, to source, whatever, in whatever religion or whatever background, to source of all. Yes, in wherever on the world. So if we are looking at the world events under this perspective right now, then it is all actually a call to reconnect to divine again. And if we do not do it voluntarily by ourselves,
it'll be done to us.
Life gets us there.
Yeah,
life gets us there.
So better to do it while we still have the comfort of all the things, so we can enjoy them without being completely owned and enslaved by them.
Exactly, enslavement, yes. And we are at the point where we have to get rid of this enslavement and into the liberation of our souls, actually. Yes, and everything that is happening around us crumbling away. Relations, matter, finances, systems, bureaucracies, institutions, everything that we thought of governments, yes, as reliable factors, are only showing us that, well, that was illusionary. So we are actually in the privileged situation to be able to create a new reality for us and our descendants.
That's right.
So actually it is always a matter, if you look at what you're losing or what are you gaining. So I, from a very, well, actually a famous reality creator friend, he said he was many times in his life at the point where he lost everything out of, incalculable, situations. And he always made the decisions, oh, that's great. Now, well, I'm able to create new things because it is awareness that creates. It's not matter that creates. Yeah. And that is an important point, I think, to be able to let everything go, because in the recognition of the awareness that is not your foundation.
Yeah. It's actually just a byproduct of your foundation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And
the
so
stuff flows through us. We're not a bank of it.
Yeah. And to take the divine and sorrows as your derivation point of all your life, actually, that is where the true power lies. And that is the value of these events that are occurring to us right now on a personal, collective, international, and universal and galactic level.
That's right. I just had this crazy image of Dustin Hoffman in Wag the Dog. Did you see that movie?
No.
It's brilliant. You got to see the movie. It's like from, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago. And he's a Hollywood producer, and they're producing a war to distract people from the president's love affair just before the elections. So it's like, oh, let's create a war.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's his job, to manufacture a war. And all of these anomalies keep coming up. Everything's a disaster. And he's just, this is nothing. This is nothing. It's like stuck in the middle of the desert, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it is something. It's full of good lessons.
Yes, exactly. Only makes you stronger.
That's right.
Yeah. And, well, what I would add, as a leader of neurology, and to reflect on that in this enlightenment process, it's all leading towards the light, yes. And it's all calling upon you, not relying on anything but source.
Yeah. All just walking ourselves home.
Yes, yeah. And you got home. You prayed, you surrendered, you prayed, and you got home.
We got home. Yeah. We got home on the way home.
That's why we were able to have our nice weekly chat right now.
That's right. And speaking of, thank you so much. Our first little chat. We look forward to many more.
Yes, and we want to inspire you to leave comments, or if you have any questions or would like to know more about any subject that we've talked about right now.
Such is the power going on. On that note, we're being told to finish up. So until next time, my friends, be well, keep dreaming the good dream.
Peace be upon you.
Ciao for now.
Sleeping out this way too long.